Ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls, it's time for below grade level. Watch out, we're right behind you.
Hello, and welcome to Below Grade Level, the show where we take the books that we read as kids and read them as adults and ruin them. Welcome to the final episode of this book, not the show, because we're going to keep doing this till we die. This is fun. We love doing this show. This is the last episode, part 3 of Goosebumps number 5, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, and like I said before, this is a legacy episode. This is something we read and recorded a couple years ago. Tune in next time on Below Grade Level, and it'll be us at present day reading something new, and probably reading something spooky. I always kick myself afterwards for committing to something in one of these episodes, like, next time we're going to read this book, and then, like, having to read that book. But I think I know what we're reading, so I'm not going to say it. But I also think it's going to be spooky because, you know, it's Halloween, fall times, and we love reading spooky stuff. So if you are just joining us, last time on Below Grade Level, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb, Gabe and his cousin Sari were just getting into all sorts of trouble in Egypt. They got lost in Cairo, which is a city in Egypt. And then they went back to the pyramid that they were in before. Gabe fell through a floor and found a mummy. He loves falling through stuff in pyramids. He loves going into pyramids, which, okay, like, even in the 90s, I don't think that, like, you could just go into a pyramid. Like, if I went to Egypt in the 90s, I don't think I could just be like, hey, I'm just gonna go get lost in this pyramid. I'm pretty sure shit was, like, closed and locked down, and they don't just let people run around the pyramids. I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's just my take on that. And then there's a guy named Ahmed, who I don't remember who he is. I don't know if he's a bad guy or a good guy. Oh, just kidding. My note here says the last thing that happened is that Ahmed had Gabe and Sari cornered in the pyramid. Oh, God. Okay, there's just, like, pyramids and pyramids and pyramids, or maybe it's just the same pyramid. I don't know. I remember this book being somewhat underwhelming in, like, wanting there to be a lot more mummy action, and then a lot of them talking about mummy cases, which you've probably heard us say already in these legacy episodes, but Jesus Christ, like, that's literally the only thing I remember from this book is R.L. Stine writing the two words mummy case and somehow not writing the word sarcophagus, even though, like, kids really love to learn those kinds of words, you know? Like, if you're a kid and you're into Egypt at all, like, sarcophagus is going to be one of the first words you learn, because you like to recite shit to adults who don't care what you're talking about at all. And be like, I learned about sarcophaguses, and that's what they put mummies in. So I just, like, I don't know why that particular part was dumbed down. I don't know. You know what? If I'm saying this now, I probably said this like 4 years ago, so you're probably hearing me say this at least like 2 to maybe 5 times. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave you to listen to the last part of this book. Thank you for listening. Join us next time as we dive into something new. As always, follow us on Instagram and Facebook and all those things. Just go to cactusrodeo.com, cactusrodeo.com/podcast, and subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. And we love you. Bye. Chapter 16. I swallowed hard. Yeah, I did. Sari and I stared at each other. I saw her features tighten in fear, among other things. Ahmed. He had tried to kidnap us, and now he had us all alone down here. He stepped forward, a flaming torch held high in one hand. His black hair glowed in the flickering flames, like black hair does. His eyes narrowed at us in menace. Ahmed, what are you doing here? Sari called, grasping my arm so hard that I winced because I'm a giant baby. Or Gaby, as she likes to call me.
What are you doing here?
He asked softly, his voice as cold as his cold, cold eyes. Holding the torch in front of him, he stepped into the chamber. His eyes went around the room as if inspecting it, making sure that nothing had been moved. I think we're still in the room with all the mummies, right?
I think so.
Yeah, we're in a room full of
I have no memory
mummies.
of Ahmed showing up.
Were there like scorpions?
And scorpions. And a big tar pit. There's like a tar pit.
Yeah.
How big is this room?
In my head, I'm just
Like
picturing
an
a bunch of
Olympic-sized
short
swimming
German
pool.
men. Like the band Scorpions.
Oh my god. They're gonna rock us like a hurricane. My dad will be here in a second. Sorry, warned him. I just beeped him. Beeped. That's ridiculous.
I tried to warn your father.
Ahmed said, staring hard at Sari. I didn't know which one of you wanted to take it.
Clockwise. The flickering orange light from the torch made him grow bright, then fade into shadow. Warn him, Sari asked. About the curse, Ahmed said, without emotion. Uncle Ben mentioned some kind of curse to me, I said, glancing nervously at Sari. I don't think he takes that kind of thing seriously. He should, Ahmed replied, screaming the words. Should have screamed, but I didn't. I didn't know. His eyes glowing with anger in the torchlight. Sari and I stared back at him in silence. Where is Uncle Ben, I wondered. What's keeping him? Hurry, I urged silently. Please hurry. The curse must be carried out, Ahmed said softly again, almost sadly. I have no choice. You have violated the priestess's chamber.
What?
Priestess, I stammered. Sari was still squeezing my arm. I tugged it away. She crossed her arms resolutely over her chest. This chamber belongs to the priestess Kala, Ahmed said, lowering the torch. This is the sacred preparation chamber of the priestess Kala, and you have violated it.
Way to throw that in the end of the third act.
Yep. Well, we didn't know. Sorry, snaps. I really don't see it. What's the big deal, Ahmed? She's right, I said quickly. We didn't touch anything. We didn't move anything. I don't think.
Except for those scorpions.
Except for those scorpions I smashed.
Shut up, you fools!
Ahmed screamed. He swung the torch angrily as if trying to hit us. Ahmed,
He
my
obviously
dad will
was
be
trying to
here
hit
any
you.
second, Sari repeated, her voice trembling. We both turned our eyes to the tunnel. It was dark and silent. No sign of Uncle Ben or his rice.
Your father is a smart man,
Ahmed said.
It is too bad he wasn't smart enough to heed my warnings.
Warnings? Sari asked. I realized she was stalling for time. No, she wasn't. She was just dumb. Trying to keep Ahmed talking until Uncle Ben arrived.
I frightened the two workers,
Ahmed confessed to Sari.
I frightened them to show your father that the curse was alive, that I was prepared to carry out Kala's wishes.
How did you frighten them? Sari demanded, just because she's nosy, not because she was stalling. No kid's that smart. He smiled.
I gave them a little demonstration.
Uh-oh.
I showed them what it might feel like to be boiled alive.
He turned his eyes to the tar pit.
They didn't like it.
He added quietly.
Wait, did he kill them?
I think so.
That's gruesome.
But Ahmed, Sari started. He cut her off.
Your father should have known better than to return here. He should have believed me. He should have believed in the priestess's curse. The priestess cursed all who would violate her chamber.
Can we start calling her Khaleesi?
Khaleesi. But come on, you don't really believe I started. He raised the
That was an accident.
Excuse me. He raised the torch menacingly. It was decreed by Khaleesi more than 4,000 years ago that the sacred chamber would not be violated, he cried, gesturing with the torch, leaving a trail of orange light against the darkness. Since that time, from generation to generation, descendants of the Khaleesi.
So you think Egyptians sound like?
Yeah, well, that's what Chris thinks Egyptians sound like. Have made sure that the priestess's command was obeyed. But Ahmed, Sari cried, it has come to me, he continued, ignoring her. Ignoring us both. Pretty rude. Staring at the ceiling
Did it
as
really
he
say
spoke.
pretty rude?
No. As if
Believable, though.
speaking directly
Think of
to
the
the
t-shirt
priestess up in the heavens, or the rafters, who knows. It has come to me as a descendant of Khaleesi to make sure that the curse is carried out. I stared past Ahmed to the tunnel. Still no sign of Uncle Ben. or his rice, or Spider-Man? Was he coming? Had Sari's beeper worked? What was keeping him? I volunteer to work for your father to make sure that Khaleesi's sacred sanctuary was not violated. Ahmed continued, shadows flickering over his menacing face. When he would not heed my warnings, I had to take action. I frightened the 2 workers. Frightened. Or killed. Then I planned to take you away to hide you until he agreed to stop his work.
Yeah, how do you show someone what it's like to be boiled alive without boiling them
Like,
alive?
you just put like a G.I. Joe in there, and you're like, look,
Look at him melt.
look at how bad it hurts.
Look
Maybe
at
you
his
just made them
17
feel
opposable
it, but then it
joints.
stopped happening like in Poltergeist when the guy's face is falling off.
Oh, yeah, that's creepy.
Look at his 17 points of articulation melting away.
Now he is just screws. He lowered the torch.
Now I'm putting the rare Cobra Harrier jet into the pit.
His face filled with sadness. Now I have no choice. I must carry out my sacred duties. I must keep the ancient promise to Khaleesi. Come on, Becca, do the voice.
Yeah, you have to do
You
the
have to
voice.
do the voice.
No, I'm not going to.
Please try.
But no. But what does that mean? Sari cried. The orange torchlight revealed her frightened expression. What does it mean? Ahmed repeated. He gestured with the torch. Look around you. We both turned and glanced quickly around the chamber, but we didn't understand because we're stupid fucking children. The mummies, he explained. We still didn't understand. What about the mummies? I managed to stammer.
God.
They were all violators of the priestess's chamber, Ahmed revealed. The thin smile that formed on his face could only be described as a proud smile.
Uh-oh.
You mean they're not from ancient Egypt? Sari cried, raising her hands in horror to her face, like in a
No,
cartoon.
Mesopotamia.
A few of them, Ahmed replied, still smiling that frightening cold smile. A few of them were ancient intruders. Some are quite recent. But they all have one thing in common. They all became victims of the curse. And they were all mummified alive!
Oh!
No! I screamed without realizing it. Ahmed ignored my terrified outburst. I did that one myself, he said, pointing to a mummy standing stiffly at attention at the edge of the tar
I
pit.
took a correspondence course.
Ow, how awful, Sari cried, her voice trembling. I stared hopefully at the tunnel opening behind Ahmed, but there was still no sign of Uncle Ben.
Today I must go to work again.
Ahmed announced, Today there will be new mummy. Oh, shit.
Today
There's
we will
no-
celebrate our independence.
It said Ahmed announced, and then there's no other quotation mark, so I didn't know to start reading it in his voice.
Oh,
Way
no.
to go. Way to go, R.L. Stein's editor. What if a child was reading this? They got very confused.
Today there will be new mummies, new trophies for Khaleesi.
You can't do that. Sari shrieked. I grabbed her hand. To my horror, I understood perfectly now. I understood why some of the mummies were in such good condition. They were new.
Mint and box.
All of the tools, the tar, the linen, they had been used by descendants of Khaleesi. Descendants like Ahmed. Since the time of Khaleesi, anyone who had entered the chamber we were now standing in, had been mummified. Alive. And now Sari and I were about to become mummies too. Ahmed, you can't! Sari cried. She let go of my hand and balled her hands into angry fists at her side, as if that would fucking do anything.
It is the will of Khaleesi.
He replied softly, his dark eyes glowing in the light of the torch. I saw a long-bladed dagger appear in his free hand. The blade caught the light from the torch. Sari and I both took a step back as Ahmed began moving toward us with quick, determined strides.
Stride, stride, stride.
Chapter 17. As Ahmed approached, Sari and I shrank back to the center of the chamber. Run, I thought. We can't run away from him. My eyes searched frantically for accident for him. My eyes search
Book
frantically.
doesn't have a lot of cues to use the whoop.
I know! for a place we could escape through, but there was no way out. The tunnel in the corner appeared to be the only opening, and we'd have to run right past Ahmed to get to it. Sari, I saw, was frantically pressing the beeper at her waist. She glanced at me, her features tight with fear, among other things.
It wasn't a dead technology.
Yow! I cried out as I
Yow?
suddenly backed into someone. I turned and I stared
Uncle
into
Ben?
the bandaged face of a mummy.
Guy can't even yell right.
With a loud gasp, I lurched away from it. Let's make a run for the tunnel, I whispered. Too sorry, my throat so dry and tight, I could barely make myself heard.
Hard. He can't get both of us. Sari stared back
Just
at me,
you.
confused. I know. I don't know if she heard me or not. He should have just started running.
I
without
know.
me.
They
right?
did talk a lot earlier about who could run faster.
I did
think.
not remember
That was months ago, Chris.
Yeah, it was
It was
very
months
long
ago.
time. Sari stared back at me, confused. I don't know if she heard me or not. There is no escape, Ahmed said softly, as if reading my thoughts. There is no escape from Khaleesi's curse. He's going to kill us, Sari screamed. You violated her sacred chamber.
Yeah, we get it.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, you
we're
said
not
that.
covering any new ground
You
here.
said that 2 chapters ago.
Ahmed said, raising the torch high, holding the dagger at his waist. He stepped nearer. I saw you yesterday climb into the sacred sarcophagus. That
He
is
finally said
terrible sentence structure. I saw you two playing in Khaleesi's holy chamber.
Oh.
It was then that I knew I had to carry out my sacred duties. Sari and I both cried out as something dropped from the chamber ceiling. All 3 of us looked up to see a rope ladder dangling from the hole I had fallen through. It swung back and forth as it was lowered, nearly to the floor. Are you down there? I'm coming down, Uncle Ben shouted down to us.
That's not what he sounds like.
Uncle Ben, no! I screamed. I don't even remember what he sounds like. He's
Sean
been
Reese
gone for a
Davies.
while. Yeah, I can't do that.
He sounds like this.
No!
Okay,
You're holding it too low.
I know, I can't.
We gotta get through this book. But he was already moving down the ladder, making his way quickly, the ladder steadying under his weight. Halfway down, he stopped and peered into the chamber. What on earth? He cried, his eyes roaming over the amazing scene.
And then he saw Ahmed. Ahmed, what are you doing here? Uncle Ben cried in response, in surprise. I just added a word for no reason. He quickly lowered himself to the floor, jumping down the last 3 rungs like a badass. Merely carrying out Khaleesi's wishes, Ahmed said, his face expressionless now, his eyes narrowed in anticipation. Kala? The priestess? Uncle Ben wrinkled his features in confusion. He's going to kill us, Sari cried, rushing up to her dad, throwing her arms around his waist. Daddy, he's going to kill us and then turn us into mummies. Uncle Ben held Sari and looked over her shoulder accusingly at Ahmed. Is this true? The chamber has been violated. It has fallen to me, Doctor, to carry out the curse. Uncle Ben put his hands on Sari's trembling shoulders and gently moved her aside.
God, the
She
mummy
made a
is
sound
so
like a cat
scary.
that didn't want to be held.
Oh, Delilah.
Then he began to make his way slowly,
Sorry,
steadily
I just-
towards Ahmed. Ahmed, let us go out of here and discuss this, he said, raising his right hand as if offering it in friendship. Ahmed took a step back, raising the torch menacingly. The priestess's will must not be ignored. Ahmed, you're a scientist. And so am I, Uncle Ben said. I couldn't believe how calm he sounded. I wondered if it was an act.
Oh, I bet it is.
Why even have other chapters at this point?
Uncle Ben is acting?
Just so you guys know, the scene was tense. We sure were. Oh my god.
Whoa.
This is the point where Jonathan forgets how to read.
We were in such terrifying danger.
That's what... You sure
That's
were
an
in
actual
such
sentence
terrifying
in this
danger.
book.
But this is a sentence in the book. This is a paragraph. The scene was tense. We were in such terrifying danger.
That, like, I feel like
I'm
that's...
feeling scared.
That's just like his notes to the actors or something. That's not the actual
he just
dialogue.
wrote that down
Alright,
Like,
so the
in this
is
scene, they were
tense,
feeling
and you're in
tense.
He
such
forgot
terrifying
to
danger.
press delete.
Yeah.
But I felt just a little bit calmer knowing that my uncle was here, knowing that he'd be able to handle Ahmed and get us out of here alive.
We don't know. Ahmed might have a gun.
I glanced
Yeah, why doesn't
reassuringly
anyone have guns?
at Sari, who was staring hard, biting her lower lip in hot, tense concentration as her father approached Ahmed.
Ahmed, put down the torch.
Uncle Ben urged, his hand extended.
The dagger, too, while you're at it. Please, let's discuss this. Scientist to scientist.
What is there to discuss? Ahmed
Is he
asked
Dracula?
softly from Transylvania.
He was going German earlier. And he's gone full Dracula.
His
Dracula.
eyes studying Uncle Ben intently.
Blah.
The will of Khaleesi must be carried out as it has been for.
It'll be okay.
You talked about how I can't talk, and now I can't talk.
That's why I talked about it. You couldn't talk because you couldn't talk before. Don't blame it on me.
It's your fault.
Blame it on your poor education.
The will of Khaleesi must be carried out as it has been for 4,000 years. That cannot be discussed.
As scientist to scientist.
Uncle Ben repeated, returning Ahmed's stare as if challenging him.
The curse is ancient. Khaleesi has had her way for many centuries. Perhaps it is time to let it rest. Lower your weapons, Ahmed. Let's talk about this. Scientist
Scientifically,
to scientist.
there's a statute of limitations on mummy curses. Is that
Yes,
the point he's making?
4,000 years.
It's going to be okay, I thought. Breathing. God
Breathing.
damn it. Oh my god, I give up. The end. Breathing a long sigh of relief. It's all going to be okay. Did I have a stroke?
I think so.
It's all going to be okay. We're going to get out of here. But then Ahmed moved with startling quickness. Without warning, without a word, he pulled back his arms and, gripping the torch handle with both hands, swung it as hard as he could at Uncle Ben's head.
The torch made a loud thunk as it connected with the side of Uncle Ben's face. A loud thunk! The orange flames danced up, a swirl of bright color, and then shadows. Uncle Ben groaned. His eyes bulged wide with surprise, with pain.
This is grown.
Oh, okay. The torch hadn't set him aflame,
Oops, sorry. That was
but the
groaning
blow
now.
knocked him out. Stop.
That
Please.
happens when you get knocked out.
Nope. He slumped to his knees, then his eyes closed, and he dropped limply to the floor.
Jesus.
Ahmed raised the torch high, his eyes gleaming with excitement, with triumph. And I knew we were doomed. The end. Just kidding, it'll never end. I'm gonna just read the next page.
Yeah,
so.
go for it.
Daddy! Sari rushed to her father and knelt at his
It's
side.
pronounced Daddy.
Daddy.
Daddy. But Ahmed moved quickly, thrusting the torch toward her, holding the dagger ready, forcing her to back away. A thin trickle of blood, glowing darkly in the light of the fire, rolled down the side of Uncle Ben's face. He groaned but didn't stir. I glanced quickly at the mummies scattered around the room. It was hard to believe that we would soon be one of them. I thought of leaping at Ahmed, trying to knock him over. I imagined grabbing the torch, swinging it at him, forcing him against the wall, forcing him to let us escape. But the blade of the dagger glowed as if warning me to stay back. I'm just a kid, I thought. Thinking I could beat a grown
so
man with a knife and a
useless.
torch was just crazy. That's the first sane thing you've ever said,
God.
Gabe.
Remember when you were thirsty and that was the worst thing that ever happened to you?
Crazy. The whole scene was crazy. He called it a scene. Come on.
Once again, R.L. Stein.
and
whole
terrifying.
chapter was
Delete your
crazy.
note.
Forgot. I suddenly felt sick. My stomach tightened and a wave of nausea swept over me. Let us go! Now! Sari screamed at Ahmed. To my surprise, he reacted by swinging back the torch and heaving it across the room. I hate this torch! It landed with a soft plop in the
This is
center
my
of the
least
tar pit.
favorite
Oh
torch.
no. Tar is
Instantly,
flammable.
the surface of the tar pit burst into flames. The flames spread, leaping up toward the chamber ceiling until the entire square was aflame. As I stared in amazement, the tar popped and bubbled beneath the orange and red covering of flames.
Glorp.
We must... We must wait for it
Yeah,
to
wait for it
boil,
to cook
Ahmed
down.
said calmly, the shadows
okay.
cast by the
All right.
flames flickering across his face and clothing. The chamber grew thick with smoke. Sari and I both started to cough. Ahmed bent down and put his hands under Uncle Ben's shoulders. He began to drag him across the
Why
floor.
doesn't he just kill those kids? It'd be super easy.
Yeah, like he already took down a grown man.
Yeah.
Leave him alone, Sari screamed, running frantically toward Ahmed.
That's my daddy.
I saw that she was going to try to fight him. I grabbed her shoulders and held her back. We were no match for Ahmed.
Oh my
he
God.
had muscles and was a grown-up. He had already knocked Uncle Ben unconscious. There was no telling what he would do to us.
Such a loser. Holding on to Sari, I stared at him. What did he plan to do now? It didn't take long to find out, thank God. With surprising strength, he pulled Uncle Ben across the floor to one of the open mummy cases, which I just learned was called a sarcophagus, against the wall. Then he hoisted him over the side and shoved him into the case. Not even the slightest bit out of breath, Ahmed slid the lid closed over
He's
my
secretly
unconscious
a mummy?
uncle.
Like, why does he have superhuman
I
strength?
don't know. He's just really buff. Then he turned to us. You two, into that one. He pointed to an enormous mummy case on the tall pedestal next to Uncle Ben's. It was nearly as tall as I was and at least 10 feet long. It must have been built to hold a mummified person. And all of his or her possessions. How progressive. Let us go. Oh, sorry. Let us go, Sari insisted. Let us out of here. We won't tell anyone what happened, really. Please climb into the case, Ahmed insisted patiently. We must wait for the tar to be ready. It's not gonna... Is it just gonna, like, burn up? Tar's not... It's not gonna go out.
I don't know, man.
Man,
Is he waiting for it to get hotter?
I don't know. We're not gonna go in there, I said. I was shaking all over. I could feel the blood pulsing at
Do
my
you have to
temples.
tar someone before you mummy them?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I'm not a mummiologist.
I didn't even realize I was saying what I was saying. I was so scared I didn't even hear myself. I glanced at Sari. She stood defiantly with her arms crossed tightly over her chest, but despite her brave pose, I could see her chin trembling and her eyes beginning to tear. Into the coffin, Ahmed repeated, to await your fate. Khaleesi will not be kept waiting. The ancient curse will be carried out in her name. No! I cried.
Doesn't seem like much of a curse if it's just a dude killing people.
Yeah. Like, you're the curse,
Like
dude.
a human dude.
Don't you realize you're
just-
the curse?
It just sounds like a serial killer.
No! I cried angrily. I stood on tiptoe and peered into the enormous mummy case. It smelled so sour in there, I nearly hurled. The case was made of wood. It was wrapped and stained and peeling inside. In the flickering light, I was sure I saw dozens of insects crawling around in there. Get into the case now! Ahmed demanded.
Sari climbed up over the side and lowered herself
Now
into the
who's
ancient
stalling?
mummy case. She always had to be first at everything.
Even death!
But this was the
Mummy
one
case.
time I didn't mind. Jeez, Petty.
Good lord.
I
Right up until the end.
hesitated. Resting my hand on the rotting wood on the side of the case, I glanced at the case next to it. I feel like he's saying case
Case.
so
Case,
many
case,
times
case.
just to piss off Jonathan.
Mummy case. Mummy
I
case.
glanced at the case next to it, the case with Uncle Ben inside. It was carved of stone, and the heavy stone lid was closed, sealing it up tight. Did Uncle Ben have any air in there, I wondered, gripped with fear? Was he able to breathe?
Uncle Ben's
And
dead.
then I thought glumly, what difference does it make? All three of us are going to be dead soon. All three of us are going to be mummies, locked away in this hidden chamber forever. Get in now, Ahmed ordered, his dark eyes burning into mine. Oh my god, I want that. Give me that.
I just showed Bekah a picture of a bookshelf chair.
Good lord.
That's amazing.
Mainly because I knew it would distract her.
You're
I
correct.
want to finish this goddamn book. Get in now, Ahmed ordered, his dark eyes burning into mine. I'm just a kid, I cried. I don't know where the words came from. I was so scared I really didn't know what I was saying. I want that chair. Build me that chair.
Okay.
An unpleasant sneer formed on Ahmed's face. Many of the pharaohs were your age at death, he said. I wanted to keep him talking. I had the desperate idea that if I could keep the conversation going, I could get us out of this mess.
You stole that idea from Sorry, but whatever.
But I couldn't think of anything to say. My brain just froze.
Yeah, Sorry and Uncle Ben both tried that.
Get in, Ahmed ordered, moving toward me menacingly. Feeling totally defeated, I slid one leg over the side of the rotting coffin, raised myself up, and then dropped down beside Sari. She had her head bowed, and her eyes shut tight. I think she was praying. She didn't glance up, even when I touched her shoulder.
Praying to Khaleesi.
The coffin lid began to slide over us. The last thing I saw were the red flames leaping up over the pit of tar. The tar pit. Then the lid closed us into complete blackness. Darkness, R.L. Stine. Get with the times.
I asked Sari, have you ever heard of 7 Minutes in Heaven?
Gabe. Sari whispered a few seconds after the lid was closed. I'm frightened. For some reason, her confession made me snicker. She said it with such surprise, as if being frightened was a startling new experience. I'm too frightened to be frightened, I whispered back, like an asshole. She grabbed my hand and squeezed it. Her hand was even colder and clammier than mine, and I had never been so hard. He's crazy, she whispered.
Yeah, I know, I replied, still holding on to her hand. I think there are bugs in here, she said with a shudder. I can feel them crawling on me. Me too, I told her. I realized I was gritting my teeth. I always do that when I'm nervous or thirsty. And now I was more nervous than I thought humanly possible. Poor daddy, Sari said. The air in the coffin was already beginning to feel stuffy and hot. I tried to ignore the disgusting sour smell, but it had crept into my nostrils, and I could even taste it. I held my breath to keep from gagging. We're going to suffocate in here, I said grimly. He's going to kill us before we can suffocate, Sari wailed. Ah! Ow! I could hear her slap at a bug on her arm. Maybe something will happen, I told her. Pretty lame, but I couldn't think of what else to say. I couldn't think, period.
Sound stopped.
All I keep thinking about is how he's going to reach in and pull my brain out through my nose, Sari
What?
wailed.
How was that what you're thinking about?
Why did you have to tell me that,
They get
Gabe?
The brains out of mummies.
Yeah.
It took me a while to reply. Then all I could say was, sorry. I began to picture the same thing, and another wave of nausea swept over me. We can't just sit here. We can't just sit here, I said. We have to escape. I tried to ignore the thick, sour smell.
Fix the spooky sound.
Hang on.
Huh? How? Let's try to push up the lid, I said. Maybe if we both push together. I counted to 3 in a low whisper, and we both flattened our hands against the coffin top and pushed up as hard as we could. No, the lid wouldn't budge. You have to do that thing from
Kill Bill.
Kill Bill, yeah.
Just put your fingertips against it and then punch.
Yeah, just punch your way
Just
out.
punch your
The
way up.
1-inch punch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he's locked it or put something heavy on top of it, Sari suggested with a miserable sigh. Maybe, I replied, feeling just as miserable. We sat in silence for a while. I could hear Sari breathing. She was sort of sobbing as she breathed. I realized my heart was racing. I could feel my temples throbbing. I pictured the long hook that Ahmed would use to pull our brains out of our heads. I tried to force the thought out of my mind, but it wouldn't go away. I remembered being a mummy 2 Halloweens ago, and how the costume
And it was
unraveled
awful.
in front of my friends. Little did I know that I'd soon have a mummy costume that would never unravel. Oh, it's so deep. Time passed. I don't know how long. I realized I'd been sitting with my legs crossed. Now they were beginning to fall asleep. I uncrossed them and stretched them out. Wait, sitting? I thought they were in like a
Sarcophagus?
sarcophagus.
Yeah,
I
apparently
thought
they're
it was
like
like a
Buicks.
coffin.
Yeah, it is.
He could sit up.
I don't think so.
Well, because there's many layers to a sarcophagus, especially a mummy's one.
How tall is it?
There's like a big one that's like 4 feet tall, and then inside's a smaller one. It's kind of like a Russian
No, it's
nesting
not a
doll.
nesting doll.
That's how the sarcophaguses work. So if it's just the outer one, then that makes sense.
That's actually true.
But aren't they like human shaped?
Yeah, but yeah, the innermost one is the one that holds your body. So that's the one that
What do
like
the outer ones hold?
the inner ones. It is like a nesting doll.
Why?
Because the fucking
'Cause
Egyptians,
Egyptians
man.
were weird.
I read the book.
What have you done?
Oh god.
Good.
The Curse of Khaleesi.
Oh no.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain this to me later, because I don't know what the fuck.
There's nothing else to explain.
They're just nesting dolls. It's just a bunch
Yeah.
of
Nesting coffins.
cases within cases.
Yes.
Why?
Egyptians,
Because
man.
Egyptians.
That is not a good enough.
Why did they pull
explanation.
your shit out through your nose and put it in jars?
I don't know.
Egyptians,
don't
man.
know.
Why'd they worship dogs and cats? And like
Mainly cats.
Mainly cats and like eagle heads.
Well, apparently the mummy case was so big, Sari and I could both lie down if we wanted to.
Yeah, you could.
So but they're like human shaped. So
Yes.
is it standing up like a human standing, or is it laying down?
No, I think it's laying
flat?
down.
But it's tall enough that they can sit up.
I mean, that's
like on their butts with their legs crossed.
I mean, I didn't think so, but maybe it is.
that would be like this tall.
Yeah, they're pretty huge.
Alright, whatever.
I'm gonna look up a picture.
Fuck this book. I'm gonna rip every page.
Don't rip it! It's an heirloom of my childhood.
Alright.
I almost typed in mummy case. Fuck you,
This page-
R.L. Stine.
He's making you dumber, yes.
The ripped page
yes.
is
Damn
what
it.
I'm picking up? Alright, I'm going to read the next page as well.
Okay.
But we were too tense and terrified to lie down. I was the first to hear the scrabbling sound, like something climbing quickly around inside the mummy case. At first I thought it was Sari, but she grabbed my hand with her icy hand. That's so horribly written. And I realized she hadn't moved from in front of me. We both listened hard. Something near us, something right next to us, bumped the side of the case. A mummy? Was there a mummy in the case with us?
A mummy?
Moving? I heard a soft groan. Sari squeezed my hand so tightly it hurt, and I uttered a sharp cry because I finished. Another sound, closer. Gabe, Sari whispered, her voice tiny and shrill. Gabe, there's something in here with us. Chapter 20. It's not a mummy, I told myself. It can't be. It's a bug, a very large bug, moving across the coffin floor. It's not a mummy. It's not a mummy, the words repeated in my mind. I didn't have too long to think about it. Whatever it was crept closer.
Oh my god.
Hey, a voice whispered. Sari and I both
Seems
shrieked.
like a lot of wasted materials.
All of it's wasted. They're putting the
Where
shit
are
in
you
pyramids.
guys?
I was
We recognized the
staring at
voice
this
immediately.
Like, oh, it'll tell me what it is, but it's not in English. I don't even know what language.
We recognized the voice immediately. Uncle Ben, I cried, swallowing hard, my heart pounding. I
Wait, is he
totally
in there
wasn't trying to
with
bang
him?
your daughter. Daddy, Sari lunged
Daddy.
over me to get to her father. But how, I stammered. How did you get in here? Easy, he replied, squeezing my shoulder reassuringly, and not in a creepy way.
Egyptian magic.
Egyptian magic.
What happened? Am I on this page? Top of this page?
Yes.
Daddy, I don't believe it, Sari wailed. I couldn't see in the blackness of the closed coffin, but I think she was crying.
I'm okay.
He repeated several times, trying to calm her down. How did you get out of that case and into this one? I asked, totally confused and amazed, but mostly confused.
There's an escape hatch.
No, there's not. Uncle Ben explained.
A small opening with a doorway. The Egyptians built hidden doorways and escape hatches into many of their mummy cases.
Why would they have done that?
Why would
Because
he
they
call it
thought-
a mummy case?
Because they thought that the body would
He's
come
an
alive. again.
archaeologist.
That's why they buried him with like a bunch of stuff so they could have it in the afterlife.
For the corpse's soul
not
to
so they
be
could
able
get
to
out.
leave.
I don't know.
Wow, I said. I didn't know what to say. It seemed
They
very
buried them with
convenient.
food.
Ahmed is so caught up in his ancient curse mumbo jumbo, he's forgotten about this little detail.
Uncle Ben said. I felt his hand on my shoulder again.
Come on, you two, follow me.
But he's out there, I started.
No,
Uncle Ben replied quickly.
he slipped away. When I climbed out of my case, I looked for him. I didn't see him anywhere. Maybe he went somewhere
trust
else
him.
while he's waiting for the tar to get hot enough to kill us. Or maybe he decided to just leave us in the mummy cases to suffocate.
I felt sad for my uncle that he called the mummy cases, even though he's an archaeologist. Then I felt a bug slither up my leg. I slapped at it, then I tried to pull it out from inside the leg of my jeans, and I grabbed my dick instead.
Out we go.
Uncle Ben said. I heard him groan as he turned in the enormous coffin. Then I could hear him crawling to the back.
I saw a small rectangle of light as he pushed open the hidden door in the back of the case. It was a very small escape hatch, just big enough for us to squeeze through. I followed Uncle Ben and Sari out of the case, flattening myself to crawl out of the small opening, then dropping onto all fours on the chamber floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a while for my eyes to adjust to the brightness. The red
Cha-cha.
flames still danced over the pit of bubbling tar, casting eerie blue shadows on all four chamber walls. The mummies stood as before, frozen in place around the room, shadows flickering over their faceless forms. As my eyes began to focus, I saw that Uncle Ben had an enormous dark bruise on the side of his head. A wide ribbon of dried blood streaked down his cheek. "Let's get out of here before Ahmed comes back," he whispered, standing between us, one hand on each of our shoulders. Sari looked pale and trembly. Her lower lip was bleeding from her chewing on it so hard. Ew.
Jesus Christ.
Uncle Ben started toward the rope ladder in the center of the chamber, but then stopped. "It'll take too long," he said, thinking out loud. "That's probably stupid of you. Come on, to the tunnel, hurry." All three of us started jogging toward the tunnel in the corner.
Looking down, I
That's
saw
my
that
favorite part, where it's like,
I like the one thing that's like, ooh. It sounds like Delilah.
sound like Delilah.
Looking down, I saw that my stupid shoelace had come untied again, but there was no way I was going to stop to tie it. We were about to get out of there. A few seconds before, I'd given up all hope, but now, here we were out of the mummy case, and headed to freedom. We were just a few yards in front of the tunnel entrance when the tunnel suddenly filled with orange light. Then, from out of the tunnel, Ahmed emerged, holding a new torch in front of him. Where does he get those? The flames revealing a startled look on his face. No, Sari and I cried in unison.
No.
All three of us skidded to a halt right in front of him, and it sounded like a car slamming on the brakes.
You cannot escape, Ahmed said softly, quickly regaining his composure, his startled expression tightening to anger. You will not escape. He thrust the torch toward Uncle Ben, who was forced to fall backwards out of reach of the hissing flames. He landed hard on his elbows and cried out in pain. His cry brought a grim smile to Ahmed's lips. You have made Khaleesi angry, he announced, raising the torch above his head and reaching for the dagger sheathed at his waist.
She told me.
You will not join the other violators of this chamber.
Woo! I breathed a sigh of relief.
Woo!
Oh, I bet that means you're fine, and you're totally fine. Ahmed had changed his mind. He wasn't going to turn us into mummies after all.
The three of you will die in the tar pit,
He declared. Sari and I exchanged horrified glances. Uncle Ben had climbed back to his feet and put his arms around us.
Ahmed, can't we talk about this calmly and rationally as scientists?
He asked.
To the
Try
tar
that
pit.
before you dumb
Ahmed
bitch.
ordered, thrusting the flaming torch angrily at us.
Ahmed, please!
Uncle Ben cried in a whining, frightened tone I'd never heard from him before. Ahmed ignored Uncle Ben's desperate pleas. Pushing the torch at our backs, he gestured with the long-bladed dagger. He forced us to make our way to the edge of the pit. Ooh, what's that?
Cider and rum.
Ooh. The tar was bubbling noisily now, making ugly of popping and sucking sounds. Sounds like a real missed opportunity. Hang on a second. The tar was bubbling noisily now, making ugly popping and sucking sounds. The flames... the flames across the top were low and red. I tried to pull back.
Red.
It smelled so bad, and the steam coming off of it was so hot it made my face burn. Oh, so hot.
One by one, you will jump.
Ahmed said.
Jump.
He was standing a few feet behind us as we stared down into the bubbling tar.
If you don't jump, I will be forced to push you.
It sounds like his heart's not in it.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't
push
really
him.
want to be
He's
a
like,
servant of Khaleesi.
Ahmed!
Uncle Ben
My
began.
father pushed me into this. I
But-
never wanted to turn into him.
But Ahmed brushed the torch against Ben's back.
It has
It has come to me.
Ahmed said solemnly.
You know what's bumming me out? I thought this whole
Middle
time
East?
there would be a mummy
Yeah.
attacking people,
Yeah.
like on the cover,
Yeah.
and it's just a serial
What
killer.
has it ever
Yeah.
been what's on the cover?
The honor of carrying out Khaleesi's wishes.
Oh, God, we're almost there. What a chore.
The tar fumes are so overwhelming I thought I was going to faint. The pit started to tilt in front of me. I felt very dizzy. I shoved my hands into my jean pockets to steady myself, I guess. It says I guess.
What?
I didn't make that up.
Oh my God.
And my hand closed around something I'd forgotten about. My penis.
Oh!
The summoner. That's what I call my penis.
Me too, kid.
The mummy hand I carry around everywhere.
Oh, I knew it was gonna come back somehow.
I'm not sure why. I wasn't thinking clearly, if at all, but I pulled out the little mummy hand.
And then poked him in the eye with
Oh
it.
my god.
I
I
spun
started
around
masturbating
quickly.
furiously with it.
And went, nyah, nyah, nyah.
I spun around quickly and I held the mummy hand up high. I can't really explain what was going through my mind. He said that like 100 times in the last 2 chapters.
I just started jerking off very vigorously.
I was so
Maybe he said
terrified, so overwhelmed with fear that I was thinking 100 things at once. Maybe I thought the mummy hand would distract Ahmed, or interest him, or confuse him, or frighten him. Maybe I was just stalling for time. You
God.
could have just picked one of those things.
Maybe Earl Stine's just stalling for time.
I think you are right. Or maybe I was unconsciously remembering the legend behind the hand that the kid at the garage sale had told me.
Nope.
The legend of why it was called the Summoner. How it was used to call up ancient souls and spirits. Maybe I'll get my wish.
Oh man, I hope
Or
so.
maybe I wasn't thinking at all. You already said that, goddammit. But I spun around, gripping it by its slender wrist, held the mummy hand up high, and waited. Ahmed stared at it, but nothing happened.
He
Okay,
was
now I just hope
confused.
that nothing actually.
I hope he just pushes him into the tar and that's the end.
Yeah.
What page am I
Left.
starting? That one?
Yeah.
Okay. Chapter 21. Yes, it's still going on.
I think it's the last chapter.
I waited, standing there like the Statue of Liberty, with the little hand raised high above my head. I'm not making this
Welcoming immigrants to the tar pit.
up. It seemed as if I were standing like that for hours. Sari and Uncle Ben stared at the hand. Lowering the torch a few inches, Ahmed squinted
Should
at the
probably
mummy
say
hand.
something like, I summoned thee.
Then his hands grew wide. Then his eyes grew wider, and his mouth dropped open in surprise. He cried out.
just
I
like-
couldn't understand what he was saying. The words were in a language I'd never heard, ancient Egyptian, maybe.
He's just
He,
holding it up like say anything.
he took a step back.
Way to go, John Cusack.
He took a step back. His surprised expression quickly replaced by a wide-eyed look of fear.
The hand of the priestess.
He cried. At least that's what I think he cried, because I was suddenly distracted by what was going on behind him. Sari uttered a low cry. All 3 of us stared over Ahmed's shoulder in disbelief.
Oh man, Bekah.
A mummy?
A mummy propped against the wall
Yes.
appeared to lean forward. Another mummy lying on its back slowly sat up,
Oh my
creaking
God.
as it raised itself. No! I cried, still holding the mummy hand high. Sari and Uncle Ben were
What? This is
gaping,
what you wanted.
wide-eyed as the vast chamber filled with motion. As the mummies creaked and groaned to life, the air filled with the odor of ancient dust of decay. In the shadowy light, I saw one mummy, then another, straighten up, stand tall. They stretched their bandaged arms above their featureless heads, slowly, painfully. Staggering, moving swiftly, the mummies lumbered forward. I watched, frozen in amazement, as they climbed out of mummy cases, raised themselves from the floor, leaned forward, took their first slow, heavy steps, their muscles groaning, dust rising up from their dried, dead bodies. They're dead, I thought. No fucking shit. All of them. Dead. Dead skis. Dead for so many years. But now they were rising up, climbing from their ancient coffins, struggling toward us on their heavy, dead legs. Their bandaged feet scraped across the chamber floor as they gathered in a group. Scrape, scrape, scrape.
A dry, shuffling sound I knew I'd never forget. Scrape, scrape. The faceless army approached. Bandaged arms outstretched, they lumbered toward us, creaking and groaning. Wait, did you read that page?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just all
He's just still
the same
describing mummies.
fucking shit over
Yeah.
and over. Okay. Lumbering, moaning, okay, whatever. Ahmed caught the astonishment on our faces and spun around. He cried out again in that strange language as he saw the mummies advancing on us, scraping so softly, so deliberately across the chamber floor. And then with a furious scream, Ahmed heaved the torch at the mummy in the lead. The torch hit the mummy in the chest and bounced to the floor. Flames burst from the mummy's chest, immediately spreading over the arms and down the legs. But the mummy kept advancing, didn't slow, didn't react at all to the fire that was quickly consuming it. Gaping in open-mouthed horror, babbling an endless stream of words in that mysterious language. What is it, just Arabic?
French.
Like, okay. Mysterious language. Ahmed tried to run, but he was too late. The burning mummy lunged at him. The ancient figure caught Ahmed up by the throat and lifted him high above its flaming shoulders.
Oh, man.
Ahmed uttered a high-pitched shriek of terror. Oh, you are not prepared. As the other mummies lumbered forward. Moaning and wailing through their yellowed bandages, they moved in to help their burning colleague.
Aww.
Is that what multiple mummies are called? A colleague?
Colleague, yeah. The colleagues. Mummy colleagues.
What page am I on? That one. They raised Ahmed high above their moaning heads. And then held him over the burning tar pit, squirming and kicking. Ahmed uttered a piercing scream as they held him over the boiling, bubbling, steaming tar. I closed my eyes. The heat and tar fumes swirled around me. I felt as if I were being swallowed up, pulled down into the steaming blackness. When I opened my eyes, I saw Ahmed fleeing to the tunnel, staggering clumsily, shrieking in open-mouthed terror as he ran. The mummies remained by the pit, enjoying their victory. I realized I was still holding the mummy hand over my head. I lowered it slowly and gazed at Sari and Uncle Ben. They were standing beside me, their faces filled with confusion and relief. The mummies, I managed to utter. Look, Sari said, pointing. I followed the direction of her gaze. The mummies were all back in place. Some were leaning, some propped at odd angles, some lying down. They were exactly as they had been when I entered the chamber. Huh? My eyes darted rapidly around the room.
Had they all moved? Had they raised themselves, stood up, and staggered toward us? Or had we imagined it all? No, we couldn't have imagined it. Ahmed was gone. We were safe. Wait, what the fuck happened?
I don't know. I wasn't listening. Sorry. Chris, what happened in your page?
Ahmed ran away, and then all the mummies were back where they were.
Oh.
And Sari and Uncle Ben were staring at him. Why didn't you listen when I read?
I looked at Facebook.
I was, buddy.
I looked at Facebook while you guys were reading, and I was listening.
Oh, well, I was confused
called
about something,
multitasking.
so, well, fuck yourself.
Oh, you were confused about something? That's so surprising. Why don't you struggle to read a children's book?
Jesus Christ! This is what I hate about you, Chris.
But love at the same time. I sound like an old man.
That's when Chris had a heart attack.
We're okay.
Uncle Ben said gratefully, throwing his arms around Sari and me.
We're okay. We're okay. We're okay.
We can go now, Sari cried happily, hugging her dad. Then she turned to me. You saved our lives, she said. She had to choke out the words. But she said them, and I wanted her to choke on them. Then Uncle Ben turned his gaze on me and the object I still gripped tightly in front of me. No, not my penis.
Not this step.
Thanks for the helping hand.
Uncle Ben said.
I forgot that I hated Uncle Ben.
Guys, go arrest the serial killer.
Roll credits.
Seriously.
What the fuck?
Go call the goddamn police.
We had an enormous dinner at a restaurant back in Cairo. It's a miracle any of us got any food down since we were all talking at once, chattering excitedly, reliving our adventure, trying to make sense of it all. I was spinning the summoner around on the table. I'm just gonna call my penis the summoner from now on. Uncle Ben grinned at me.
I had no idea how special that mummy hand was.
He took it from me and examined it closely.
Better not play with it.
He said seriously.
We must treat it carefully.
He shook his head.
Some great scientist I am,
He exclaimed scornfully.
He's a terrible scientist.
You call sarcophaguses mummy cases! Should have your license revoked.
He's a scientist the way that Jeff Goldblum's character in Jurassic Park is a mathematician. When I saw it, I thought it was a toy, some kind of reproduction. But this hand may be my biggest discovery of all. It's my good luck charm, I said, handling it gently as I took it back. You can say that again, Sari said appreciatively. It's the nicest thing she'd ever said to me.
Oh my god.
Back at the hotel.
That's so depressing.
Yep. Back at the hotel, I surprised myself by falling asleep instantly. Really? Because that sounds like a rough-ass day.
Yeah.
I can't believe they even ate dinner.
I know. Call the cops, you fucking idiots. Jesus
I
Christ.
thought I'd be up for hours thinking about
Guess
all that
everything's
had
okay.
happened. But I guess all the excitement had exhausted me. The next morning, Sari, Uncle Ben, and I had a big breakfast in the room. I had a plate of scrambled eggs and a bowl of frosted flakes. As I ate, I fiddled with the little mummy hand. All of us were feeling good, happy that our frightening adventure was over. I feel like you're speaking way too soon, kid. We were kidding around, teasing each other, laughing a lot. After I finished my cereal, I raised the little mummy hand
Little
high.
mummy hand.
Oh, summoner! I chanted in a deep voice.
Oh my
I'm not
God.
going to do a deep voice.
Oh my God.
He obviously sounds like this. I summon the ancient spirits! Come alive again!
I am a summoner.
Stop it, Gabe. Sorry, Snap. She grabbed for the hand, but I swung it out of her reach. That isn't funny, she said. You shouldn't fool around like that.
And slapped her in the face with it.
Are you chicken? I asked, laughing at her. I could see that she was really frightened, which made me enjoy my little joke even more because I'm a sadist.
Jesus.
Keeping it away from her, I raised the hand high. That's all that's left.
Take us
Should I
home.
finish it? Okay. I summoned the ancient spirits of the dead. I chanted, come to me now. And there was a loud knock at the door. All three of us gasped. Uncle Ben knocked over his juice glass. It clattered onto the table and spilled.
My cranberry.
I froze with a little hand in the air. Another loud knock. We heard a scrabbling at the door. The sound of ancient bandaged fingers struggling with the lock. Sari and I exchanged horrified glances. I slowly lowered the hand as the door swung open. Two shadowy figures lumbered into the room. His parents. Mom and Dad! I cried. I bet they were surprised at how glad I was to see them.
That.
Bum,
Bum, bum, bum, bum.
Yeah, that's like the happiest ending of one of these stories so far. I really
Yeah.
thought a mummy would just kill them now.
Yeah, no one with a name actually died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I miss something?
No, that was it.
May I see the book?
Oh yeah, it's
It's just
a preview of Let's Get Invisible, the next book that I can't wait to read based on that title alone.
Let's get invisible. Invisible. I wanna get invisible. Let's
Stine.
get invisible. Let me not see your face. Hide your face. Let me not see your body.
And now for the
Hide it all.
creepiest part of all, the About the Author section. R.L. Stine is the author of more than 24 best-selling thrillers and mysteries for young people. Recent titles for teenagers include Beach House, Hit and Run, and The Babysitter 2, all published by Scholastic. He is also the author of the Fear Street series, which we now know sucks. When he isn't writing scary books, he is a head writer of the children's TV show Eureka's Castle, seen on Nickelodeon. Bob lives in New York City with his wife Jean and 12-year-old son Matt, who are ashamed of him. So that's that. That's that book. Below Grade Level is a Cactus Radio production. You can contact us at podcast@cactusrodeo.com. Subscribe and follow on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify, and follow Cactus Rodeo on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more entertainment and updates.